Hi everyone, welcome to the channel for new battle report. So this is the fourth and last game of the French team tournament on Warhall. Has been for me an exciting tournament. We had some good opposition, a lot of people attending this live tournament, team of 4, and this is the last round. So we are the first table, first place. After 3 rounds, we won all our game. We capped the 3 times, so we needed to end up on a high note. Right now the round is not finished yet, so I don't know yet how it's going to finish. But let's talk about my game. I was paired against Shaq with his Empire of Sonnstahl. It's an opponent and an army that you saw on my channel a couple of games ago. So actually I knew pretty well what I could do and what I needed to be careful about in this matchup. This is my list. I think since last time, the last update that I made to the list was to add MR3 to the Bastion. I felt the Bastion could be sometimes in danger against magic. Some spells are very annoying for him, and I decided to invest those points in that instead of the Flaming Breath on the Vizier, for example, and I think also the Lucky Charm on the Overlord. So I felt those 30-40 points total were better invested on MR3 on the Bastion. My opponent was playing the following list. So it's, I think, the exact same list that he played a couple of games ago, so you should remember. Very quickly, we have the 3 Chariot, Prelate, 2 Wizard. We have then double Marshal, General BSB, big block of Halberd, big block of Imperial Guard with great weapon. We have 2 support units of heavy infantry. We have 15 handgun, 16 state militia, 4 Sun Griffin, and then 2 volley gun, 2 Rocketeer. So heavy artillery, heavy shooting. And then 2 big block supported by the 3 Chariot and also the Sun Griffin that can be a bit more independent on the flank. We were playing Spoil of War on Frontline Clash, and below you have the spell selection. I picked the same strategy than last time, which is full blast. Try to get rid of the War Machine as quickly as possible. So I played the match before. I knew already before than this game that it should be a positive matchup for me. And this time, instead of the fast cav, I have a giant with soft covers. That should be a nice plus for me in the matchup. Will be an annoying piece to deal with for my opponent. I felt there is variance around the War Machine output. So basically depends a lot what my opponent will do with the War Machine and how quickly I can deal with them. Secondary, push forward, take the map. I think we both know that we need to get to the middle of the map. And then, after I got rid of the War Machine, I need to reduce the block. So I also expect my opponent to anticipate a bit better than last time. If you remember, last time we played the game, I was able to really deal with the War Machine step by step. I went quite lucky with magic. I was able to kill the War Machine quite quickly and then reduce the block and then try to engage, and it just needed to flee because it was not possible to engage anymore. I feel, or I expect this time, him to be better prepared and try to put more pressure on me to not let me have the time to both reduce his unit and also kill the War Machines. But overall it's a positive matchup for me. Let's move on to the map. So I won the roll for side. I gave him an impossible in the middle. I felt that could be a bit annoying for him. And was happy about the map. I have a heal I can play with. And then my opponent elected not to start. He told me you can start to deploy. I think he remembered that last time he started the game and he didn't do much on his first turn, so maybe he was afraid of that. So this time I'm able to drop to start first turn. I went into quick, fast left flank to basically deny him the left part of the map and kind of, I don't know how to say, but to engage or to motivate him, to give him incentive to deploy on the right flank, which he did in counter deployment. But let's start with my deployment. So I went with Torque Anointed on the left, Incarnate, Bull, all of them can play with the heal quite effectively. Then the unit of Blunderbuss, the Bastion, Vassal Levies, Lugas, and on the far right my giant, just trying to be annoying. And obviously my deployment is slightly center left, so I expected him to go right, which he did. He plays Sungriff, Imperial Guard, so all the way to the right, so quite far away from the action. Then we have the 3 Chariots, small unit of, I think there was Halberd, handgun were here, Volley-gun. Then here we have the 2 Rocketeers, and here in the middle we have the big brick of halbards with the characters, which I didn't expect. I would have expected to have here the Imperial Guard with the 2 characters that make them bodyguard and so on. And here we have another unit of support unit, and here we have the State Militia. So let's move on with my turn 1. Obviously wanted to be aggressive. What I respected on the first turn is not give any good shooting to the Volley-gun. So they have hard cover on the Incarnate. No War Machine sees the Anointed and Overlord. And this unit and the unit in the back stay out of range of the Volley-gun. So basically, I'm able to take advantage from his mistake, one mistake early on, which is to give me the 18-inch range for the Volley-gun on my Bastion. So I didn't expect that. I felt by dropping turn 1, I would have expected the Volley-gun to be slightly more in the back, to not allow me to target them turn 1, but it still leaves me the opportunity to target them, so I'm going to place the Bastion. He's hitting me on 6, if you roll any 6s then on 7, so I felt the Bastion should be resilient enough to take at least a turn of shooting, so I didn't need it to expose any of my other units. That's also the reason why I hide my Giant, so I have a good minimization. I'm able to take advantage from both pieces of terrain that are impassable for him or really hard to shoot behind. So I felt quite good about that, and I'm getting within 18, which I didn't expect at all. So let's try to take advantage from that. Magic Face. He dispelled the breast weapon. I try a Grave Call on 3 dice, which is 65% chance, but I fail. And then I got Pentagram plus an attribute of Alchemy on a Volley-gun. Expected to do a couple of wounds, but I managed only to do 1. So not that great. I would have expected to do a couple of wounds more, but that's how it is. He's turn 1. And like I said, in the early stages, in the preparation of the battle, basically he realized that he needs to put pressure on me. So he pushes the block forward, uses the soft cover of the forest for his halberdiers to protect himself. He plays the militia behind the hill for me not to be able to see him, and he pushes right flank, but not that fast because he doesn't want to suffer any DT. And that's what also I like about the fact of kind of pushing him or giving him incentive to deploy on the right due to my deployment, is the fact that that wasn't going to do good to him. And obviously you don't want to lose like 4 Imperial Guard on the first march or half a Griffin of stuff like that. So I knew that it was going to slow him down. Magic Face, he gets reroll to hit on the Volley-gun. I dispel the +1 to hit, and Unerring Strike also got dispelled on the Lugars thanks to my magical resistance. Shooting, he did a very good amount of wounds on my Bastion, considering the fact that he had hitting on 6s if you roll no 6s, and sometimes 7, and he had one time reroll to hit. But still he did a lot of job. He did a total of 8 wounds to the Infernal Warrior in the middle, which was much more than I expected. I felt should be max 5, so 8 was quite a lot. And he also did with the Rocketeers 2 wounds to my Incarnate, so this is totally the opposite that what happened previous game. When we first met, I did a lot of my magic on his Volley-gun, so I kill 1 straight, stuff like that. And this time I did only a wound and he did a lot in return. So 8 Infernal Warriors plus 2 wounds on the Incarnate is a very good range damage turn 1. Let's move on to my turn. So I elected to play a bit aggressive, to try out a bit more the matchup. And wanted to take a slightly different approach that I would do, I think, in most tournaments. But I really wanted to see if I could claim the spoil and if I could try to push behind it. So what I did is to march my Bastion on the spoil in the middle. I think it's a decent game plan because it allows me to be within 12 of the Volley-gun. So I can shoot the Volley-gun, try to get rid of him. I can get the spoil and get into magic range of the second Volley-gun, which leaves me a good amount of opportunities. And in the meantime, I can just chaff the block in the middle with my Vassal Levies with a Relentless Banner, which I did. I bring the Lugar a bit forward, but still out of the Volley-gun. Don't want to get shot. Still, in case he survives. My Giant stays behind the Impassable for the moment. As you can see, he still did a couple of wounds to himself due to the shooting phase of last turn. And I place this time the Incarnate on the hill. And while the Anointed go on the token, but still behind the hill. And also the Overlord has a good line of sight here, but still behind the hill. So I don't get shot by Rocketeer early on. Magic Face. I failed the breast weapon on 2 dice. I got a Grave Call on the Volley-gun. I one-shot him, strength 6, but I miscast and do 2 wounds to my mage. so it's going to hurt a bit. And then I did a pentagram on the second volley gun and managed to do 2 wounds. So that was good. With the shooting, I did 3 wounds on the handgun. So that was a good start, and I also killed a couple of militia. So this time it was a good range damage turn for me. His turn 2. He charged with the support unit against my vassal levies. I don't know what he did with this move, to be honest, because it achieved nothing. Gives me a flank charge, mid-range, not so good. So I didn't know exactly what he wanted to do. I think he would have moved forward and be ready to make another turn of chaff. I think he would have done something differently. Those guys don't move, the militia chaffs me. Here push a bit forward with the block. This block make movement 10. This unit also push forward on the token, having line of sight here in case the giants want to come out. In the magic phase, I managed to get reroll to hit on the volley gun. He also, I think, got +1 to hit on the volley gun, I think. And then he managed to do some wound on the bastion, I would say 4 wounds, so I don't have so many guys left. He killed 6 of my vassal in close combat and managed to restrain, so I'm able to flee, to escape this combat, and I'm going to rally next turn. My turn 3. I claim a bow spoil. I push my bastion in a position where if he charges me, it's only 1 against 1. Meaning I have static res for me, this unit is in my front. That should be fine. I charge with the Overlord against the small unit here. He had to flee, it was an easy charge. Mid-charge, and then I would be here and then free at some point, so he fled. I had double 6 Swift Stride on the volley gun, but I failed that charge, and then I charge here with Incarnate in the front and Anointed in the flank of this unit. I reform this unit to get shots onto the halberdiers, the same here, and here I was able to get a chaff on the support unit here with the rallied unit, so I was quite happy with. I placed my Luger forward, leaving him with, I think, an 11 charge, and the giant here was ready either to chaff or minimize or charge, depending on what he does. So I'm quite happy about the stalemate here on the right, while I'm getting an advantage on this left flank, trying to push towards the middle to support the bastion, basically. In the magic phase, I got, I think, a toxic press. I tried to put the attribute to do the last wound on the Rocketeer, but I didn't manage to do it. And then I got a pentagram to kill the Rocketeer, so that's 1 more machine left, less. And then I think I kill I kill a total. I did very disappointing with the blunderbuss. I have the stat here. So I placed the breast weapon plus all the blunder, I think was a total of 25. And I only managed to do 6 wounds to the halberdiers. As you can see, the average is more around 10 or 11 wounds, which is a bit different. It's double so much, so it's 1 rank less. And I felt to reduce those guys would then make them think twice before engaging my bastion, where I don't have so many bodies left. So it still was a combat that I didn't want that much, but it's minimized. I have counter charge set up, so I felt I should be okay, and we will see how that goes. He's turn 3, so he elected to engage. He charged with his halberdiers into the corner of my bastion. Like you see, if I kill 5-6 more, it's going to be slightly different. So we will see how that goes. He pushes with the chariot, support unit doesn't charge, pushes forward with the Imperial Guard, also with the unit of Demigriff. He reforms and pushes, and that's about it. In the magic phase, he got 2 spells. He got the ward save 5 up within 8 inches of the prelate, which is good, and also the reroll to wound, which is also an interesting spell. Then he got 1 wound on the Incarnate with his shooting, and I think he did another 3 with the handgun, and maybe the rocket also 2 more. So I think he did a total of like 6 wounds to my Incarnate, so he did quite a lot. Close combat, it ended up being a tie because I have a lot of static res. He has also some good res, so it ended up being a tie. And then regarding the reform, we both didn't really reform, so I wanted to have here the counter charge. And start of my turn 4, basically, I see multiple possibilities here. The first one, which was the Incarnate cannot counter charge here because it's a front. The Anointed could counter charge, but it's really far, and the Overlord is too far. So I already feel, okay, left flank I cannot counter charge. This unit here, the blunderbuss, counter charging here in the front was my main plan, but actually I bring only 13 attack. He strikes before me, he has a ward save 5 up, and he rerolled 2 wounds. So basically, and he has lightning reflexes and distracting. So I'm not bringing a lot of combat res in this case. So I felt that's not a good charge. And then what I saw, which is way more interesting, my small Vassal Levies could charge here in between against the Prelate, which opened up for a 7 charge in the flank from the Lugos, which I felt could be quite sexy. He can countercharge with the light infantry, obviously, but I still feel in the flank of those guys I will do so much wounds, and even if I lose at some point, that should save the Bastion. So we'll see how that goes. And that's what I did. So I charged Overlord against his volley gun, having an overrun here into the flank. I positioned my Anointed on the hill to have a flank charge next turn. I charged with Incarnate, was like 6 or 7 Swift Stride rerollable onto the handgun, is stand and shoot. Here I got my Vassal Levies, the Lugars on 7 into the flank, he countercharged me in the flank, and I prepared those guys to be ready to countercharge, and I chaff both units in the front, so meaning he needs to choose which one's going to charge me, but he cannot contact with both. So I felt that's quite interesting. The giant is basically buying me precious time. In the magic phase, I got Pentagram killing 4 of the Halberdiers, I felt. Then I got an attribute of alchemy, obviously, into the Halberdiers, and I think that's the only spell I got. Maybe I also got something to... I don't remember if I killed the Rocketeer or not. But let's speak about close combat because I think it's the most interesting. So first I got the Overlord killing the volley gun, overrunning into this unit, killing the unit, overrunning again to end up within the 15 of the Rocketeer so that he can't shoot the Overlord. Those guys just reforms. And the main combat here ended up actually being a tie, I think. Or no, he lost, but not by much. And he was able to stick because he brings so much combat res. He had the ranks of both units, which I didn't know before. So it's that static res. And he still had the prayers of the reroll to wound and the ward save and stuff. I didn't do that much with the Lugars. And basically everything sticks. So we're still here and I lost a couple of Lugars. I did some wounds here, but the main thing is it allows my Bastion to stay in minimized contact, and then I'm bringing more forces from the left. So that, I think the main goal here was achieved, but I expected to break this unit, which I didn't do actually. And I also managed to do with my BSB a wound to his general, basically. He's turn 4. Charges with Guard against my Giant. Here we stuck in combat, because I had the charge banner, he did 2 wounds to me, so we stuck. And nothing crazy. He uses a Chariot to chaff my Incarnate. I think I could have potentially reformed otherwise to avoid the chaff and avoid him being able to block a little bit the line of sight of the Overlord. So I think here I could have done a bit better, but doesn't matter that much. In the magic phase, I dispelled this time both bound spell. So reroll to wound and the ward save got dispelled, so it's going to be different. He get -2 offensive on the Lugar despite the MR2 with 2 dice, and he also got +1 strength on the Halberdiers. I think that were in the flank of the Lugar, so not bad, but I think it's not as good as the reroll to wound and the ward save, obviously. Shooting, he did 1 wound to my Anointed with the Rocketeers, and then close combat, he rolled really well this time, despite not having edge read anymore for the small unit. He rolled really good, and he managed to do a very good amount of wounds to the Lugars, which ended up being enough to break them. I had a difficult check, like on -3, something like that, or -4. Difficult check, which I didn't pass. The Bastion was still steadfast, so was still fine with the Bastion, which held on steadfast. But then the Lugar broke, and he elected to pursue me with this unit. He didn't catch me, but with the pursue move, he got into the flank of this unit. That wasn't so good position, to be honest. I could have easily avoided that flank charge, which is a bit frustrating because now he can potentially break them, overrun into the other units, so that's going to be scary, but yeah, we'll see if this unit can hold. They are stronger in close combat, so maybe they can hold. And the Giant combat, it's a 50-50. Basically, he has 16 or 17 attacks, hatred against my parry, with lightning reflexes and wounding on trees. And with all of that, he managed to do like 10 wounds, so he was totally rolling hot. But as you can see, it's really 50-50 if I survive or not. And obviously, if I survive, it's quite cool, because then I would be able, I think he has agility 3. So most likely I would be able to strike this time with like 10 attacks because I go after him. So like 10 attack plus a stomp. And then the turn after, if he's agility 3, which I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's the case. If he's agility 3, then we go same time next turn. So another time with like 10 attack. So I can easily kill like 10 to 15 guards, potentially. 10 something, but still quite interesting regarding what's going to happen afterwards. Let's move on to my turn 5, and now is the time for me to try finally to win the middle combat. So I charge, an easy charge rerollable with the Anointed into the flank here. That should be doing good. Then I double charge into the Chariot. Here we're still stuck in combat. This time he gave me the flank. And here he got into my flank. I rally the Lugars in case he go through, ready to basically take them in the front. In the magic phase. So as you can see, it's very interesting for me because I'm bringing a lot of static res, still in the corner with the Bastion, those guys in the flank, attacking potentially the general. So that should be an easy combat for me, and it should give me very interesting potential pursue move. I don't know if you see them, but you're going to see that in a short moment. Magic phase. I think I got a breast weapon somewhere. I failed the pentagram on double 1, and I got grave call to kill the volley gun or the artillery piece, the rocketeer. And then close combat, I auto broke this unit. I elected to pursue it with both units. The Anointed just stopped behind this unit, and the Bastion got into the flank of this unit, which is going to help me win that combat. And then I elected to pursue that way because it was another auto break move. So I elected to pursue that way only with this unit while the Bastion restrained. And basically my calculation was the following. On a 6 or less, his unit would chaff himself. On a 7, I would hit this unit. So like a chaff. And if he rolled more, he could jump over. So there are little potential outcome that wouldn't be interesting for me. Basically, it's already 50% chance that I just get straight into the unit and then he's blocked there, and I'm quite happy to having him chaffed. I think the vassals still are against the prelate that struggles to get rid of them, and obviously I killed that chariot here quite quickly. I did that combat first because in case I would just break him and not kill him, I could have overrun with the incarnate into that combat, but it's not the case. Okay, he's turn 5, so what happens? He charges, so he has no general, no BSB anymore. He charges with his block of Infernal, his guard, Emperor guard, into my big unit here. And I cannot stand that combat because he could also charge with the dummy Griff, and then he would get an overrun into the Lugars. So I cannot get all of that. It's just going to be too much. So I elected to flee because the positioning was, yeah, as you can see, the Lugars are straight behind. So I felt that's going to be a huge issue if he overrun into them. Then he has another turn, he's close to me with 2 strong units. So I just fled, and then he failed the restraint check, luckily for me. So obviously quite good that he didn't pass the restraint. He had some charges, potentially if he would have passed the restraint on 8, he could have potentially charged into the Anointed. It could have been interesting for him. He would have got with a hatred, potentially break me. Then I have a lot of units set up to countercharge, but obviously the win of the secondary could have been lost at this point for me. So it was a huge risk, but with no BSB, no general, this time he failed the check. So that was huge in the moment of the game. What happened in the magic phase? Not much. Yeah, I forgot to mention that the turn before I charged first with the Overlord into that chariot, which he fled obviously, and then redirect into the first chariot. And I had no line of sight into the prelate. Anyway, that's how we are. I don't remember what he got into magic. Yeah, that's how we are. And basically what's going to happen in combat is I have a flank and a banner, and he's going to do only 1 wound. He's going to fail his check. He's stubborn, but like on 9, he's going to fail the check. So the vassal win that combat. It's going to provoke a panic check on this unit, which is going to fail on 8. It's going to flee that way, and that's the end. That's the end. Because the vassal can eat the prelate. After that, it's my turn. The Lugars can eat that unit, and the rest can just retreat, and that's the end for him. So we ended up, my opponent decided to call it to call it a game, because he had no motivation anymore after that turn of event. But obviously with General and BSB out of the picture, it was only a matter of time before low leadership became an issue for EOS. Okay, side and deployment. So I push him to deploy on the right, which I think was the right decision because it slowed him down. Overall, I felt deployment-wise, he made a couple of mistakes that I already pointed out. The first one was the positioning of the volley gun, which was within 18 of the grave crawl. The second one was the positioning for me of the guard and the positioning of the characters. He should have switched them with the halberdiers and also put both infantry block closer to the middle. I think that should have been his goal, to be stronger in the middle and basically have the characters where they are bodyguard. My game plan paid off, but I still wasn't totally satisfied by it. I had a couple of risky moments, and that's exactly what I'm always saying on the channel. Basically, when you go into that kind of combat where you engage a lot, you get a lot of close combat, there are some key moments. The first key moment was the Lugar combat in the flank, ended up being tied, but I saw could have turned out to be differently. I could have broke. A lot can happen. Then the turn after I broke. Then it didn't happen exactly the way I wanted to block the guards, which gave him an opportunity to potentially draw the secondary. So a lot of things that were quite risky, a bit too risky to my taste, and I think would have made sense to play a bit more engaged and not to jump that quickly on the secondary in the middle. It still ended up paying off, but you saw sometimes on a too fine margin for me, or a bit too risky. But that also, when you take this kind of risks, that's also the road to the 20. I would have never got 20-0, I feel, if I played it differently with less risk. So that's also the kind of risk management. Sometimes you take a bit more risk, which open up to bigger score. And if you don't do it, then you get a safer outcome, which would have been closer to potentially 15, like the first game we played together. Turn 3 Infernal Dwarves was for me a key moment where I commit to the Bastion. I push forward with the second unit of Blunderbuss, and I definitely expected to do a bit more than 6 halberdiers, which then put me in slight danger for the close combat. A key moment on turn 3 EOS, when he decided to take the risk to charge the Bastion. I think that's really when the game opened up. Turn 4 Infernal Dwarves. The counter charge I planned was actually not good. When I made the calculation, I felt I definitely cannot engage with the great weapon warriors into the halberdiers. They are better than me, and I'm not bringing anything. So actually, I had no good counter charge for the Bastion, which was definitely an issue. I sacrificed the Lugars, which did good damage and helped me save the Bastion, basically, which was the main. It's a lot of points in the Bastion, and it's not the way I like the Bastion to be in position. I had low numbers of blunderbuss left in the close combat, and I struggled a bit in the close combat. Turn 5 ID, once the main unit died, leadership became an issue, and it was just a moment of a matter of time before an accident would happen. And what about the vassals? I mean, they chaffed one time, two time, they charged the prelate, and then at some point they broke the prelate, run him down, provoke a panic, which fled the Imperial Guard. So crazy vassal in this game. And again, the Empire special rules surprised me a bit. The sum of rank, if you got counter charged by the support unit, it's basically crazy how many ranks and static res is bringing. The effect of the chariot that worked, I didn't know that they work even when you're fleeing. That's something that was for me not intuitive at all. I was always having in mind, if you flee, then all the effects are kind of lost, but actually it still works. So at least that's how my opponent explained me, but I didn't feel that was how it's supposed to be. So I was quite surprised by that, to see that the chariots are distracting and so on still work when you're fleeing. Anyway guys, so big win to end up the tournament for me, which was a very positive tournament. Got some nice trainings in this tournament, so I was quite happy about that. And we will see how the tournaments end up. At the moment we are first place, but depending on the last round. But I'm feeling confident. I feel we have a good pairing, we have good matches, so that should be fine. Guys, thanks a lot for watching the battle report. I hope you liked it. Don't hesitate to comment if you have anything to say about the battle. Always happy to exchange with you about what happened in the game. And take care. Bye.